Lately, I've been looking at AI and how we can reduce teacher workload, so I'm going to check out DeepSeek and see what all the fuss is about. So for those who don't know, DeepSeek is very similar to ChatGPT, and it's been made at a fraction of the cost, and it's meant to be great. So we're going to give it a go and just see if it's any good to reduce our workload as teachers. So first of all, it's free to sign up as long as you've got a Google account. I've got one that I use for YouTube and stuff, so I'm just going to try login with Google. Okay, really straightforward to log in, and it looks very similar to ChatGPT. So if you've used an AI before, then this will be really familiar to you. So the more detail that you put into your search criteria, the better sort of response that you're going to get. I know some people are a little bit funny about putting extra details in. So if that's you, then don't do that. The response will be much clearer to you if you give it loads of information. So just give it whatever you can, whatever you're comfortable with. So to start things off, most teachers want to use an AI to try and reduce the workload of writing reports. As I teach computer science, I'm just going to type in a search criteria, which looks like this, to see if the response that I get from it is any good. So it says, I work in a secondary school in the UK and I teach computer science. So I'm not being too specific there, just secondary school in the UK. We have just completed a topic about computer components and networks. I would like a paragraph about positive feedback about how they are getting on in lessons and 3 potential improvements they could make that I could include on reports. Can these be separated into bullet points? Now, the reason I've asked for that is because it gives me a little bit more to choose from if I'm not too happy with what it gives me the first answer back. So let's see how it does. So you might want to pause it because I'm not going to stay on the screen too long, but I'm pretty impressed with the results, to be honest. It's it's really clear, good areas for improvement as well. You could ask for more than that. I only asked for 1 paragraph. You could say give me 3 paragraphs. You could ask for 10 potential improvements, and then you might be better at picking one which is just more suitable for you. Okay, so the next one that I'm going to try is producing a scheme of learning. This is like the bane of all teachers' existence, writing schemes of learning. So this is one that I've already got one for. But I'm going to try and ask and see what it comes up with on DeepSeek. So I want to write a scheme of learning for a Python programming unit. That's a programming language for those who don't do computer science, aimed at 11 to 13 year olds. The unit will include the basics of sequencing, selection, iteration. That's more computer science lingo. It will also include debugging, the difference between syntax and logic errors, and be progressive based on what they've learned from the previous lessons. Weaker classes will understand and be able to read code, but might struggle with iteration techniques. All classes should know what a variable is and how it can be used. Including the scheme of learning should be keywords, outcomes, suggested learning activities, 8 lessons total, and a potential summative assessment. So I've been really specific on what I want. I've said what I want to include, what I don't want to include. I've said how many lessons it's going to be, and that it needs to be progressive, so building on previous knowledge as well. So let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so it's got a little keyword list to begin with, which is nice. Learning outcomes, that's really important for most schools. So it's given me 5 there, and then brilliant, we've gone straight into the order of the lessons. So that's really impressive. I mean, I'm not going to say that's it. You don't need to do a scheme of learning again, but it's a massive start that you wouldn't need to actually do yourself. So hopefully can massively reduce some workload. Even just typing out a list of keywords can sometimes take up, 10, 15 minutes. So the fact it can take 30 seconds to do all that, and you can just use whatever you want, it's going to massively save people a lot of time. So I really like it so far. Next one we're going to try is something called a hinge question. So this is like a massive thing for Ofsted, I've heard, at the moment. So a hinge question is basically you can't move on with a topic until they're confident in answering a hinge question. So it kind of lies on that. So let's give it a go. Can you produce hinge questions for the Python programming unit and suggest whereabouts in the scheme they would be best to include? Okay, so it has produced hinge questions, and it actually looks really good. I mean, it did explain to me what a hinge question was, which I already knew. But then you've got lesson 1, there's a hinge question saying, like, what will this output? Meaning if they don't understand what that would output, then they've missed the point of the lesson. So you would probably have to redo some of that lesson again until they've definitely got it. It's done one for each of the lessons. So in other words, they've kind of tried to summarize what that lesson was about, what they should definitely have gotten out of that lesson, and if they don't, then they can't move on. And it's given me some really good examples there. And like I said, this is very computer science specific in my case because I've talked about Python programming. But you could do it for any subject, absolutely any subject. It just looks pretty cool because they've actually got some code on the screen as well. But you could do it for any subject. Interestingly, at the bottom, it does say how to use hinge questions, which just in case people haven't heard of a hinge question before, then here we go. So timing, use hinge questions midway through or at the end of a key concept explanation. Use mini whiteboards, hands up or digital tools for quick feedback. If over 80% answer correctly, then move on to the next concept. Fair enough, that's alright that. Out of pure interest, I wanted to know if it could produce images. It can't. No, it can't produce images directly, but it can guide you on how to use other tools like Canva and Photoshop and stuff. I do think it's really important that for certain things, then a teacher should definitely be reading and writing their own responses themselves, but I do think in certain circumstances, then it will definitely just help reduce that workload overall, but not as like a totally, this is going to replace my job kind of thing, so I wouldn't worry about that. I'll try some other stuff out on it and let you know if I find anything else good about it. And I'll try a couple of other AI tools and also let you know about it. See you next time.